Is everyone able to hear me? We'll wait for one minute. Are you able to hear me? Okay. Let us wait for 1 minute. I think the remaining students should come. After that, we'll start the session. We'll just wait for 1 minute and we'll just start the session. Okay. If I am not audible to anyone, you can just type it in the live chat button, using the live chat button. I think everyone has their notes ready, so they can note down while the class is going on. And if I am being very fast, you can just raise your hand, or you can say to me via the live chat. Okay. Okay. A minute. Just wait for 1 minute. Okay, we'll start the session. This is the first class of reservoir engineering. Class 1 of reservoir engineering. We will go topic by topic. Firstly, we will go through petrophysical properties of rock. Before that, I like to give you unit conversions also. Okay, let's get into it. Firstly, what is reservoir engineering? The reservoir engineering deals with all the subsurface formations, the dynamics of subsurface formation before production, during production, and after production. A reservoir engineer main aim is to maximize the production from the reservoir. So there are various tools that a reservoir engineer use while helping production or drilling engineer to maximize the production. That is, they use subsurface geology, they use well logging, they use well testing, and various other tools. And they use all the data obtained from all the possible sources, and they try to give what is the best possible way to derive the oil from the subsurface to the surface. And they will also help in choosing the right place for placing a well. Also, you can just note down this one. A minute. A reservoir engineering is thus may be defined as the art of developing and producing hydrocarbon fluids in such a manner as to obtain a high economic recovery. As I already told, The various tools of reservoir engineering are subsurface geology, applied mathematics, basic law of physics, chemistry, and ultimately reservoir engineering concerns of all petroleum engineers from drilling and from drilling muds, well logging, well testing, and all the other things such as. Okay. Uh, uh, Basically, what a reservoir engineer will do will be explained better by our senior ONGC. He will take a class after 3 days, and he will explain to you what basically a reservoir engineer will do in ONGC. Okay. Right now, we will mainly focus on the concepts. Okay. Uh, these are the conversions you have to remember. These conversions not only will be used in reservoir engineering, but also will be used in drilling. Just try to remember this line, and change the unit as per your requirement. Okay. It will also be helpful in drilling, production, well testing, and all the numericals. On the numerical parts. Okay. Try to note down this one. Density. 1 gram per cc is equal to 8.33 ppg is equal to 62.4 pcf is equal to 1000 kg per meter cube. If you remember this line only, it will be helpful to solve any type of problem. You can change the density from MKS to CGS, CGS to field based on your requirement. So just try to remember these conversions. This one. Okay. The density part and the volume. There are actually, you have to remember two lines. That is 1 barrel is equal to 42 gallons. 5.6146 feet cube is equal to 0.16 meter cube is equal to 160 liters, and 1 meter cube is equal to 1000 liters. And the third one is length. 1 meter equal to 3.28 feet is equal to 100 centimeter is equal to 39.37 inch. Okay, I think you have note down this important conversions. And when you are solving any question, if you want to convert a unit, try to use this one only. It will be useful for any numericals throughout petroleum engineering. Okay. These are density, volume, and length. Density, volume, and length. Okay. If you go to the next part, the weight part. For weight, you have to remember this one. 1 kg is equal to 1000 grams is equal to 2.2 pounds. And you also have to remember 1 ton is equal to 1000 kg. This is US ton. Sorry, UK ton, not US. There are actually 2 tons. One is US ton and one is UK ton. In US ton, 1 ton is equal to 1200 kgs. Here, 1 ton is equal to 1000 kgs. So you don't have to remember the US one. Best you remember this one. 1 ton is equal to 1000 kgs. Basically, India, when they mean ton, 1 ton is equal to 1000 kgs. Okay. And to the pressure part, for pressure conversions, you can use this one. 1 atmosphere is equal to 1 bar, 1.10 bar, 14.7 psi, and 10 to the power 5 pascals is equal to 760 mm of Hg. Try to remember this one and try to practice this line in as many numericals as possible, so you can remember this. By remembering these 6 conversions, you can solve any numerical in production, drilling, or reservoir for unit conversion. Okay. For power, 1 horsepower is equal to 746 watt, 33,000 feet lbf per minute, and 2544 British thermal unit. British thermal unit per hour. Okay. Just try to remember these 6. That is these 3 and these 3. Okay. By remembering these 6 conversions, you can solve any numerical in production, drilling, reservoir, and any other thing. Okay. I'll be going to the next slide. Yeah. Right now, we'll be starting petrophysical properties of rock. Okay. What do you mean by petrophysics? Petrophysics is the study of physical and chemical properties and their interaction with fluids. What is petrophysics is petrophysical properties of rock means what are the physical and chemical properties of rock that are involved when fluid is interacting with the solid part of the rock. Okay, some of the key properties studied in petrophysics are porosity, permeability, compressibility, saturation, wettability, interfacial tension, capillary pressure, J function, and net to gross ratio. Okay. What is petrophysics? Petrophysics is a study of physical and chemical rock properties when there is an interaction between rock and fluids. Okay. Some of the key properties, note on this one. We will be going topic by topic. First, today we will be covering only porosity. Okay. During the class only, we will be solving some of the numericals. Okay. If any student have any problem or if they are unable to follow my class, they can raise their hand or talk to me via live chat. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Yeah. What is porosity? Porosity is a measure of space in a rock in which not occupied by the solid framework. Okay. Let's get into it. Okay. What is porosity? Okay. I'll be going from now. I'll be going very slow. What is porosity? I think maximum number of students have already done the conversions, right? It is very important. The conversions, the unit conversions are very important. Okay. What is porosity? If you take a sponge, even though the sponge is a solid part, it can store water inside it. The ability of the sponge to store water inside it is called porosity. See, if you take let us take one sandstone or any other formation. They are basically made of grains, mineral grains. They are basically made of mineral grains. Between the mineral grains, there is some space where the fluid can be stored in a formation. Those are called pore spaces. Okay. Porosity is defined as the ratio of the volume of pore space divided by the bulk volume of the rock. Okay. If we come here, there are actually 3 types of volumes in this particular formation. We have to study. One is bulk volume. Bulk volume is the total volume of the rock that has been taken into consideration, including the pore volume inside it and the grain volume. And second one is grain volume. Okay, the third one is pore volume. Okay, we'll be going step by step. Yeah. Firstly, what is bulk volume? Bulk volume is volume in which it is the total volume of the core. It is total volume of the core. Volume of the core. Okay. It includes both the pore spaces and the grain volume inside it. And if you say what is grain volume, it is the volume occupied by the grains inside the core. Grains. The volume occupied by the total grains. And there is a relation between these 3. One is bulk volume is equal to pore volume plus grain volume. Okay. These are the mainly 3 types of volume associated with any type of formation. Okay. And firstly, the definition of porosity. What is porosity? Porosity is expressed by phi and it is defined as the ratio of pore volume to the bulk volume. Pore volume to the bulk volume. In terms of grain volume, pore volume is equal to bulk volume minus grain volume divided by bulk volume. It is equal to 1 minus grain volume divided by bulk volume. Okay, it is an important relationship. Yes, let's get into the write the definition of porosity. It is a very standard definition. Porosity is a measure of the space in the reservoir rock which is not occupied by the solid framework, that is the grain part. It is defined as the fraction of the total bulk volume that is not occupied by solids. Okay, basically the units of porosity, it does not have any units. Does not have any units, and generally is expressed in fractions or percentages. Okay, and a porosity cannot be greater than 1 cannot be greater than 1 and should always be between 0 less than or equal to pi less than or equal to 1. Okay, because at in any formation the pore volume cannot be greater than the bulk volume. Okay, I think everybody have written down this one. Okay, and don't worry, the things I will be writing on the board will be available to you on PDF format. Okay, so try to write the notes from PPTs only. Okay, if you write good notes, it will be helpful not only during the classes but also at in the revision part. Okay, yeah, there are actually two types of, these are the mineral grains. This is the volume associated with the grains is called grain volume, that is this total part, and this is pore spaces between the grains, that is called pore volume. Okay, the total bulk volume can be divided into two types, that is grain volume and pore volume. The relation between the three is given as here. And I have already written. Okay, so hold down the 6 formulas at later point. The 6 formulas, yes, the unit conversions. You're talking about unit conversions. Yes. I will just show it in the end. Okay. Yeah, this is the very important one. Actually, many students don't study this part because void ratio is mainly associated with geologists and geophysics. They are the main, this expression is mainly used by geologists and geophysicists. Okay, what do I mean by void ratio? Okay, as porosity is defined as the ratio of pore volume to bulk volume. Yeah, void ratio is defined as, it is basically expressed as E is defined as the ratio of pore volume to grain volume. And one of the things associated with void ratio is it can be greater than 1. Okay, unlike porosity, it can be greater than 1. Can be greater than 1. Okay, and right now let us go to the relationship. What is the relationship between void ratio and porosity? Okay, as we already know, bulk volume is equal to pore volume plus grain volume. Okay, if I am going too fast, you can just inform me. Yeah. By dividing both sides with pore volume, we get bulk volume divided by pore volume is equal to 1 plus grain volume divided by pore volume. As per the definition of porosity, porosity is defined as pore volume divided by bulk volume. So it is 1 divided by 5 is equal to 1 plus void ratio is defined as pore volume divided by grain volume. So try to remember it, 1 by E. So the relationship between pore volume and grain volume is equal to E by E plus 1, where phi is equal to porosity and E is equal to void ratio. Try to remember this relationship, or you can just derive it if you know the formulas. Okay, I think everybody has note down this one. Yeah, we'll go to what are the characteristics of void ratio. As I already told, unlike porosity, the void ratio can be greater than 1. It is generally expressed in fractions also. Expressed in fractions. The only difference between porosity and void ratio is in the denominator part, the porosity has bulk volume, whereas the void ratio has grain volume. Okay. See, pore volume divided by bulk volume, whereas void ratio is pore volume divided by grain volume. Okay. I think everybody has noted on this one. Let's get to the next. Yeah, the classification of porosity. Actually, the porosity can be classified based on various things, like the types of volume present in the formation, the type of deposition, the type of rocks that it has associated with, and the pore space. Okay. Firstly, we'll be mainly going to these two based on volumes. That is the type of volumes. And second one is deposition environment. Deposition environment. Okay. Firstly, this classification A is based on volumes. Based on volumes. There are actually based on volumes, there are 3 types of porosity. One is total porosity. Okay, I'll be right in board. Yeah. Classification of porosity. It can be classified based on many other things, but we will be going mainly through these two. That is, one is types of volume and deposition environment. Okay. If I'm going too fast, say it to me. And based on types of volume, there are actually 3 types. One is total porosity. Okay. The second one is effective porosity. The third one is ineffective porosity. Ineffective porosity. The types of pore volume. The ineffective porosity is also have another name, that is connected porosity. The ineffective has residual porosity. We'll go one by one. You can go here. Yeah, what is total porosity? Total or absolute porosity is the ratio of total void fluid present in the reservoir rock to the bulk volume of the rock. Okay, if we can go here. Yeah, total porosity. It is also known as absolute porosity. Absolute porosity. Total porosity. It is defined as total pore volume divided by total bulk volume. See, if you take a rock, there are several types of pores in it. Take a rock, there are several types of pores. Consider the shaded area, the shaded red area as all the pores present in a rock. It can be classified as 2 types or 3 types. This is connected pore. These types of pores are only responsible for the production of oil and gas from the formations. There are also isolated pores. They does not have any communication with the well, and they are isolated in the rock only. Okay, the other one is dead end pores. Even though there is communication with the well, they does not contribute. Okay, dead end pores. So when it comes to total pore volume, it is defined as total pore volume is equal to connected pore volume plus isolated pores plus dead end pores divided by bulk volume. Okay, that is mean by total porosity. It is defined as a total pore volume associated with the formation divided by the total bulk volume of the rock. Okay, the total or absolute porosity is the ratio of total void space in the reservoir rock to the total or bulk volume of the rock. Okay, try to note on this one. And the absolute porosity is defined is equal to, this is a relation between those three, effective porosity plus ineffective porosity. We will try to solve this one also, derive this one. Okay, let's go to the second one. Effective porosity is defined as B. Effective porosity, total connected pore space divided by total bulk volume. Effective porosity is the only porosity that a reservoir engineering is mostly interested in, because they contribute to the production of oil and gas from the reservoir. Okay, and the third one is ineffective porosity. That is total disconnected pore space that is pore volume divided by total bulk volume. I'll give you the time to write it down. Okay, you can write it down from here. Effective porosity is defined as the ratio of volume of interconnected pores to the total or bulk volume. It is effective porosity equal to total volume of the interconnected pore space divided by total bulk volume. As I already told, this is effective porosity plays an important role in all calculations because it is the only space that is responsible for production of oil and gas from the reservoir. Okay, I think you have noted it down. If not, you can contact me or you can message me via live chat. The residual porosity, yeah, it is also known as ineffective porosity. Okay, the ratio of isolated or completely disconnected pores to the total bulk volume. It is also known as ineffective porosity. No. Yes, wait a minute. Does dead-end pores in residual porosity? Yes, actually, yes. The dead-end pores comes in isolated porosity only because it is the ineffective porosity. It does not contribute to the production of oil and gas. So it does come under residual porosity. Okay, that's a good question, Pura. Good, good. Yes. Completely or closed or isolated or completely disconnected pores are ineffective in producing. See, the residual porosity is a porosity which is responsible for which are closed, isolated, or complete disconnected pores. Similar to dead end pores, they are closed or isolated or completely disconnected. So dead end pores come under residual porosity. Okay. Try to note down this point. These are very very important points. Try to note down it. We have actually referred various number of books and prepared this PPT. Okay. Class notes play a very important role for the examination. I think majority of the students have noted it down. I will just let's try to derive. I think it's easy. Yeah, we know that total pore volume is equal to total connected pore volume plus total isolated pore volume. If you divide it by bulk volume, that is total pore volume divided by bulk volume is equal to total connected pore volume divided by bulk volume plus total isolated pore volume divided by bulk volume. This is total porosity or absolute porosity. That is equal to effective porosity or connected porosity plus ineffective porosity. That is, these are the definitions. Ineffective porosity or residual porosity. Okay, this is very important one. Try to remember this relationship. Okay, we'll be going. I think I already explained what is the difference between total porosity and effective porosity. If you take a formation, if you take this formation, these are the pore spaces which are connected. So these come under connected pore space. Connected pore space. If we can see here, this pore space is covered by all the grains and it is totally isolated. So it comes under disconnected pores. That is residual porosity. Okay. These are the main parts. These are the main classification based on the type of pore volume present in the formation. Okay. Let's go to the classification based on B. That is based on deposition environment. Okay. We're going to B, classification based on deposition environment. During the formation of a particular rock, it goes through various processes. What happens is the grains travel from the high places to the low places, and they will undergo compaction, then cementation. After that, various geological processes such as fracturing, dissolution, and various other things. Okay. Based on the geological activities, the porosity is defined. So based on inundus, there are two types. One is primary porosity. The second one is secondary porosity. Secondary porosity. Okay, let's go one by one. Yeah, they're basically based on the rock origins. As I already told, the formation of rock involves so many processes. As studied in rock cycle, the grains travel from high places to the low places, and they will undergo compaction. After compaction, or they will undergo cementation. After that, the secondary process start. That is, the primary process involves compaction and cementation, whereas the secondary process involves uh, fracturing, dissolution, and various other things. Okay, try to write out this one. It is defined as the space between the grains that were not compacted together completely, and it is related to the pores or voids in C. When it undergoes compaction, the rocks, the pore spaces will be formed, and these are the pore spaces. If it undergoes compaction, it will be uniform. The pore spaces will be uniform throughout the formation. So to classify it as a primary porosity, it has to be uniform throughout the formation. If the pore spaces in the formation is uniform, then it can be classified as primary porosity. Okay, it is one of the characteristics of the primary porosity. And these types of pore spaces are generally found in sands, sandstones, clays, and conglomerates. Okay. Yes, it is also known as original porosity. Okay, I think you have noted on this one, and if you have any doubts, you can ask me. Okay. Okay, I'm changing the PPT. Yes. What is secondary porosity? After the rock is been compacted and cemented, it undergoes various tectonical activities, that is fracturing. The rock can be fractured. See, if this is the rock, it can be fractured like this. And the fracturing of rock is ununiform. If it will happen only in one place in the formation. So the porosity formed due to fracturing is uneven. So it is characterized by the non-uniform distribution. Okay. One of the examples of the secondary porosity is formation of wugs in carbonates. See what happens is in carbonates, inside grains is consider this as the mineral grains. There will be pore spaces. Pore spaces. These are actually called wugs. VUGS. Okay. Unlike in sandstone, where the isolated pore is completely surrounded by grains, in wugs, a particular pore space is covered by a single layer of rock, that is mineral grain, that is minerals. This is known as wugs. These types of porosity, these types of pores are related to secondary porosity. See, a cavity, void, or large pore in a rock that is commonly lined with mineral precipitates. Okay. Secondary porosity is also formed due to the process such as dolomitization, dissolution, fracturing. Okay. Dolomitization, dissolution, fracturing. I think you have noted it down. Yeah, I'll just one time again. Yeah, dissolution is defined as if fluids is come under contact with the rock, the fluids will dissolve some of the rock substances. That is known as dissolution. And due to this dissolution, there will be pore spaces formed in the rock. Okay, that is dissolution. Just explain it to you again. See, consider grains. It will travel from high to low, and there will be compacted, less cemented. This is the type of porosity that is formed in this process comes under primary porosity. After the rock has been compacted and cemented, then it undergoes various tectonic activities such as fracturing, dissolution, okay, and even formation of wugs also. What happens is it becomes uneven. Suppose this is the fracture. See, it is not, the fracture will be only one place, so it is ununiform, and it will be here uniform distribution of pores. Distribution of pores. Here, this is comes under secondary porosity. Wait a minute. Okay, and there are also wugs, and due to dissolution also. If you consider here, there is fluid, there will be layers, pores due to dissolution. Okay, the porosity due to this these things comes under secondary porosity. Okay, I think you have noted down this one. Yeah, I'll move on. Yeah. What are the main factors that affect porosity in a formation? Actually, there are many factors that affect porosity in a formation. One is the grains, that the size, shape, and the clay content of the grains. Okay, and the compaction and cementation of the grains also. Grains. One is grain packing, grain size, grain shape, grain distribution. Factors affecting porosity. One is grain size, grain shape, and their grain packing arrangements. They play a very, very important role. Packing arrangements. The clay content in the formation. The clay content. The cementation process. The level of cementation involved in the formation of rock. This all play a very important role, and etc. Similar to that, etc. And let's go one by one. First, we will be going through packing arrangements. Okay. Yeah. That is grain packing or packing arrangements. Packing arrangements. The theoretical. Actually, there are mainly 6 types of packing arrangements that a grain can be packed. Cubic, hexagonal, rhombohedral, orthogonal, orthorhombic, tetragonal, and triclinic. Okay, cubic, hexagonal, rhombohedral, or orthorhombic, tetragonal, triclinic. I'll just explain to what is the main difference between these 6. You have to view it in the 3-dimensional way. Consider 4 grains. If there are see, there are exactly the four grains has been on top of each other. It will be cubical packing. See, you can see here on top of each other. It will be cubical packing, and because it represents a cube. If we able to shift the top layer by radius distance in the above, that is it will become hexagonal packing. The top layer displays the top layer by radius distance, radius of the cube or grain. That is called hexagonal. If you shift the whole thing on the middle, that is uh, with, without going perpendicular to the yes. Okay, without going perpendicular to the wait a minute, yes, without going perpendicular to the grains, go diagonally, then that is called rhombohedral. Okay, the remaining are also similar: cubic, hexagonal, rhombohedral. And it is very important to you to remember these packings and the degrees. See, the cubical packing will have 90 degrees. That is, then these degrees are also, the angle degrees are also very important. The hexagonal will have 60 degrees. The orthorhombic will have 45 degrees. Exactly 45 degrees. Try to note on this one. These are very, very important. And actually, the angles with the tetragonal and triclinic, actually they don't have a single value, but they have very, very different amount of values. Okay. Whereas the other four have these values: 90, 60, 45, and 90. Try to note down these values, and we'll be going how the cubical packing has the maximum porosity of 47.6%. Okay, we'll be deriving it. Okay, I think you have note down. You have completed note downing this one. I'll just explain it to you. Yes. Firstly, we'll go through cubical packing. Consider, as you already know, take 4 grains. Take 4 grains of diameter D. Diameter of grains. So it will be like this, and the side of the grain will have a length of D, because this is radius and this is radius. So the length will be 2r, that is equal to diameter of the grains. Okay, so the bulk volume of the cube will be, see, if we can consider this single side, this single diagonal, where this will be shared by 8 spheres. So for one cube, we'll have 1/8 of one sphere. Okay, one cube will have 1/8 of one sphere into 8 spheres. That will be, one cube will have one sphere associated with it. That is one grain sphere. If you can visualize it in 3-dimensional, it will be easily understandable to you. If you can see here. Here there is one, here there is one, here there is one, here there is one, here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And try to join the 8 parts 3-dimensionally. It will represent one sphere. Okay. So the bulk volume of the cube will be D cube. Okay. As we already know, the length will be D. And the grain part, the bulk volume of the cube will be D cube. The grain part is the grain volume. The grain volume will be the volume of sphere, grain sphere. You don't have to remember this. remember this derivation, but if you go once through it, you can easily understand. It will be pi by 6 d cube. Pi by 6 d cube. Right? Through the definition of porosity, it is pore volume divided by bulk volume. It is 1 minus grain volume divided by bulk volume, 1 minus pi by 6, which will be equal to 0.476 if you solve it. That is equal to 47.6%, 6%. Okay. Similarly, you can do it for you can do it for both hexagonal and rhombohedral. Try to do this to yourself. These are easy only. It will be occupied by 60 degrees, and this will have 45. And we know bulk volume is equal to d square into d sine 60, because bottom length into height. Okay, try to do this to yourself. If not, I will explain it to you tomorrow. Okay, if you have any doubts, try to solve this too. Hexagonal and rhombohedral. It has a theta of 60 degrees. It has a theta of 45 degrees. Okay. These are you have to remember this maximum porosity are relating to the packing: cubic, hexagonal, rhombohedral, orthorhombic, and tetragonal, triclinic. Okay, you have to remember these values. These are very, very important. Okay, I think you have noted down this one. Yes, the grain size. Yes, you have to remember all the values related to maximum porosity. All the maximum porosity related to the packing arrangements. Okay, they play a very, very important role. Okay, grain size. The grain size also plays a very important role. If the grain sizes of all the formation are similar and identical, the grain size does not play any role, and they will play on the porosity of the. See, if a formation, yeah, you can write it down. Write down. Try to complete it. Okay. Try to write it down as much as possible. Try to incorporate it in your notes. See, consider a formation which has identical spheres. Under these circumstances, the grain size does not play any role. Okay, because the porosity of the formation will be dependent only on packing arrangements. That is packing arrangements, because as all the sizes are similar, the pore space will also be the same. The pore space to the bulk volume ratio will be same. Okay, whereas ideally means in the formation, in real life formation, they are not the same. All the grain sizes will be different. As grain sizes distribution increases, the porosity decreases. Okay. Generally, for randomly distributed means as there are many grain sizes associated with the formation, porosity increases with decreasing grain size. Okay, try to remember this. It's very important. But if the grain size in the formation is same, okay, it does not vary with grain size. It depends only on the packing. Okay, it is noted about the ordered packing of its porosity. Okay, this is the thing that I have explained right now. Try to complete it. Yeah, this is the grain diameter versus porosity. What do I mean by angular and rounded? Suppose this is angular. Sorry, this is rounded grains. If the surface of the grain is very smooth, it means rounded. If the surface of the grains is somewhat rough, that is like this, it will be angular grains. I think you have tried to note down all this one and try to remember this graph also. This is very, very important. This is very important. This graph, they can give you. Know the difference between the rounded grains and the angular grains. I will explain it to you in detail in the next slide. Okay. Yeah. The third part is grain size, grain shape, and grain distribution. Consider, see how it will depend on grain shape. Consider a formation which has circle in circles. Consider another formation which are in blocks. See, this formation has porosity. As the grains are round, it will have maximum porosity. Maximum porosity. As it becomes more rectangular and they'll have very good packing, it will have very less porosity. So this can explain how the grain size affects the porosity in a formation. Okay, the grain size and distribution, these are best explained using two terms. One is roundness and sphericity. The roundness means it is the degree of smoothing on the surface of the sedimentary particle, that is grains. If it is smooth, it means rounded grain. If it is very not very smooth and it has very abrasion on the surface, it means angular. Okay, that roundness is the degree of smoothing due to the abrasion of sedimentary particles. It is expressed as the ratio of, try to remember this definition also. Actually, it's not much important, but it will be of help to you. Yeah, what is sphericity? Sphere, that is sphere plus city. How closely a sand grain represents that of a sphere. Okay, if the sand grain is very similar to that of a sphere, it means the sphericity is very high. If it is very irregular, it has low sphericity. You can compare the sphericity and the angular and rounded. If you can see here, see the surface, it is very abrasion. So it is angular. If you go on right, it becomes more and more rounded. So this is rounded. The roundness increases as we go from left to right. Roundness increases. If we go from top to bottom, it becomes the shape of the grain represents that of a almost a sphere. So the sphericity also increases. Sphericity increases from top to bottom. Okay, just know the difference between the roundness and sphericity. Sphericity is defined as the how closely a particular sand grain represents that of a sphere, whereas the roundness is related to the surface of the sand grain. Is it smooth or uneven? Okay, I think you have noted on this one. Yeah, and sorting. The third term is, first it is sphericity. Two is roundness. 3 is sorting. What do I mean by sorting? Sorting is defined as the random distribution of sand grains, the size of the sand grains. If a formation is well sorted, means all the sand grains in the formation are almost similar. See, this is a well sorted formation. If you can see here, this is a well sorted formation because all the sand grains in the formation are of the same size and shape. Where if you come to the poorly sorted formation, there is a vast difference between the sand grains. They are from very, very small sand grains to very, very large sand grains. So it is poorly sorted. Sorting is the random distribution of grains. If the random distribution of grains is very, very small, because if there is very less random distribution on the sizes, it means it is well sorted. Whereas if it is very high, it is poorly sorted. Okay, well sorted means, see, well sorted materials have higher porosity. Try to remember this one, because in well sorted rocks, as all the sand grains are similar, the porosity, the pore spaces cannot be occupied by any other thing. Whereas in poorly sorted rocks, the pore spaces are occupied by very small sand grains present in the formation. Okay, that therefore decreases the porosity of the rock. Okay, try to write down this one. Well sorted materials have high porosity, and the similar sized poorly sorted materials. The graphic illustrates this. Okay, and try to remember the sphericity difference between sphericity. What is sphericity, roundness, and sorting? Okay. Yes. The others. There are also, apart from these three, there are many others which play a very important role in which affects the porosity of the formation. Porosity also is controlled by huge secondary processes that are, as I already told, compaction, dilation, mechanical process such as compaction, plastic deformation, and geochemical process, dissolution, precipitation, reprecipitation, volume reductions. These are all the geological process that happen inside the formation. Okay, all the geological process affect the formation. Okay, that's what this slide is about. And try to remember this one. As the cementation in the rocks increases, as the cementation of rocks increases, the porosity is reduced. Okay, this is very, very important, because what do you mean by cementation? Cementation is the which attaches the grains, which comes in the pore spaces and attach all the grains to itself. That is cementation. Okay, as cementation increases, the porosity decreases. Okay, try to write it down. Okay, until now, if any of the students have any doubts, they can raise their hand, or they can ask me private messages, or they can ask me through live chat, and try to note down this one. Okay. What is, wait a minute, yeah. What is the main application of, okay, I have to go slow again. Okay, I'll be going slow again. I think, has everybody note down this one? This is very important. Okay. Is everybody able to hear me? Try to note down this one. These are very, very important. This one, factors of porosity. Yeah, write down from the slides. The board one will be available. These all things will be available to you in PDF form. Okay, in your account, it will be available in PDF form, so you can view it and write down the notes from there. But the slides won't be available, so try to write it down. Okay, let's go to the next one. The applications of porosity. The applications of porosity. Yes. Suppose if you take an area, we can get it is an area of A in acres. If in the subsurface, if you want to know the porosity of the rock, or bulk volume is defined as H. Bulk volume is given by 43560 AH, that is feet cube. Try to note on this one. These are some important formulas. And pore volume is equal to bulk volume into porosity, that is 43560 AH into 5 porosity. This it is mainly used. The calculation of pore volume. This is mainly used before production. Before production, if a reservoir engineer want to know how much of fluids are in the formation, they generally use this method. Okay, the porosity is found using wildcat well, where in wildcat well they will take the course from the subsurface. They will calculate the porosity and they will find the pore volume using this formula. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Try to solve this question. Try to solve this question. In the question, it is actually 10 to the power 5. Find the a reservoir a petroleum reservoir has an area extent of 20,000 feet square and a pay thickness of 100 feet. The reservoir rock has a uniform porosity of 35%. Find the pore volume of this reservoir in dash into 10 to the power 5 barrel and choose the correct answer. Okay. Try to do it. Take your own time, no problem. We'll do it in a leisurely pace. Okay. During this, if any other students, while doing this, if any other students have any doubts, they can ask through live chat. Yes, Girish. I will open it in a minute. I'll open it in a minute. Wait. If the students who have completed the question, try to place your answer, option A or option B or option C, option 1 or option 2 or option 3 in the live chat. Okay. And try to note down this question also. It is very basic questions. It will help you. And for some students who have asked for previous slide, try to note down this one. Yeah, Girish, is it completed? Okay. Yeah. What about the question? Has everybody completed? Yes or no? Say yes or no in the live chat. It will be easy for me to talk to you. Okay, I'll just explain it to you. Has everybody completed the question? Option B. Yes. Let me see what is the option. Okay. It's a basic question. Don't try to take so much time. Okay. Yeah, these are the results of the poll. Okay. The correct answer is option B. Okay. The correct answer is option B. I'll just try to give the pore volume is equal to in barrel. As it is in barrel, first AHY. A is 20,000 feet square into H is 100 feet into porosity is 0.35. Try to use a formula, or if you use the calculator, it will be 1.2 into 10 to the power 5 barrel. Sorry. You have to convert this feet cube into barrel. That is 1 barrel is equal to, as I've already shown you in the unit conversion, 5.6146 feet cube. Okay. You have to use this one, this conversion factor. Yeah. Okay, let's continue. Everybody note down this question. It's a very basic and important question. Yeah. And how do we find average reservoir porosity? Average reservoir porosity in a formation. Okay. Actually, there are various formulas used by reservoir engineer to find the uh, average reservoir porosity. What they will do is they will take the core samples from different areas in the formation, and they will try to jumble it. That is, they will try to come at an average reservoir porosity. And there are actually three types arithmetic. There are actually three types. That is areal weighted porosity, volume weighted porosity, and the other one is thickness weighted porosity. Okay. When the thickness porosity should be used is the bedding place does not show. Bedding planes show large variations in porosity vertically. If along the vertical plane there are very large variation in porosity, it is best. See, if you take a reservoir, it has different pi 1, pi 2, pi 3. If such case arises where the porosity is there is vast difference between the porosity 1 and porosity 2 and porosity 2 and porosity 3, and if there is very less difference, I'll just show it in the board. If you take a formation, consider this phi 1, phi 2, phi 3, phi 4. If there is a pi 2 is almost equal to pi 4, and there is a vast difference between pi 1, pi 2, and pi 3, then thickness weighted porosity is used. Thickness weighted porosity is used. This formula is used. Okay, I will just show you the formulas. Yeah, thickness weighted porosity or average. Okay. If the arithmetic average is used when the size h is almost similar. Okay. Try to note on these formulas, and I will just explain it to you. When is porosity in one formation is greatly different from that of another area due to sedimentation conditions. Okay. If in one area, if you take areas, if you A1, A2, A3, consider this surface. Under this, the formation, the porosity is different in different areas, whereas it is almost similar in the particular area. Suppose in this particular area that is represented by the red one, if all the porosity in the red area is almost similar, but it is highly different from the porosity in this area, pi 2, then the areal weighted average is used. Similarly, the volumetric weight average is used to calculate average rock porosity. Okay, try to note down this one. And this one. If any other students have any doubts, they can ask me, and try to be as interactive as possible. And if any, don't keep any doubt with yourself, and try to ask the questions, because the doubt can be helpful to other students also apart from yourself. Okay. Has everybody completed this one? Okay, I'll be going to the next slide. Yes. Measurement of porosity. Okay, as everybody completed the previous slides, this one. Okay, going as slow as possible. Okay, let's get into the measurement of porosity. Measurement of porosity. That actually there are various methods, mainly various methods, but there are mainly it is classified into two types. One is on surface, that is core analysis. The other one is subsurface. Subsurface, that is well logging. I'll write it properly. There is measurement of porosity. Two types. One is surface method. The other one is subsurface method. It is also known as core analysis. Core analysis. The second one is well logging methods. Well logging methods. Okay, let's go one by one. Yes. As I already told, there are two types of methods, surface method and subsurface method. The surface method is more accurate than the subsurface method, that is well logging. Just try to note down this point. The best way to determine porosity. Yes, it should be noted that the core determined porosities. Try to. This is very, very important point. Porosity determined from downhole tools. Okay, this is very important point. The accuracy of porosity determination is very high in surface methods, that is core analysis, when compared with the well logging methods, that is subsurface methods. Even though there are many methods for determination of porosity in core analysis, we only maximum use these 6 methods: the fluid saturation method, buoyancy method, helium porosity meter, the mercury porosity meter, rock density method, and fluid summation method. You don't have to remember these the methods names, but you have to remember the process. What is the process for determination of porosity in fluid saturation method? Okay, you don't have to remember the name, but you have to remember the process, because these are the ones that are asked in numerical. These questions are actually asked in numericals. Okay, try to note down this one. We'll go one by one. Okay, firstly we'll go to fluid saturation method. Okay. Okay, I think I have already noted on this one. This one. Okay, the fluid saturation method. What we'll be doing here is we will take a core. See, when we take cores from the subsurface, there are actually it will be recovered as a whole core. We will discuss the core analysis based in core and core analysis, whole core, and we will be taking a small core from here and we will test it. It is sample core. We will be testing this part. Okay, this one. We will be taking a small cylindrical type of core from the whole core to test it. What we will do is we will take a cylindrical core. Basically, all the cores present in ONGC are cylindrical in nature, are cylindrical in shape. Okay. We will use the known methods to find the bulk volume of core. Okay. Then we will dry the core. We will dry the core and we will find the dry weight. After that, we will saturate the core. Saturate the core with fluid. Okay. Try to note on. I'll just explain it to here. We will take a core. We will take a core of known of known bulk volume. It is basically calculated by the known methods. That is, we'll be using the a scale to find the, if you, from the scale you will find the diameter, and from here you go the length. The bulk volume is calculated by pi by 4 d square L. Okay. In the first step, we will dry the core. We will dry the core. We will dry the core and we will find the dry weight of the core. After that, we will saturate the core. Saturate core with fluid of known density. Known density. That is saturated core. Then we will find the weight of the saturated core. Okay. Now we can find the weight of fluids saturated in the core. That is the fluid. What is the weight of the fluids that is occupied in the core sample? WT saturated minus WT dry. If you take the dry weight from the saturated core, we get the weight of the fluids in the core sample. Okay. And we'll use density is equal to mass by volume. Okay. Volume is equal to mass by density. As we already know the density of the fluid, this is weight of fluids divided by density of fluids. As we already know the density of fluid, that is rho fluid. We can get volume of fluids in the core. Volume of fluids present in the core. Present in the core sample. That is equal to weight of fluids. That is weight of fluids is equal to WT saturated minus WT dry divided by density of fluid. Okay. The volume of fluid present in the core sample is equal to pore volume. But it is not the pore volume that is found using this formula is not of the whole pore spaces present in the formation. It is of the connected pore volume. So the porosity found using this method is effective porosity, connected pore volume. So we know that porosity is equal to pore volume by bulk volume, WT saturated minus WT dry divided by rho fluid divided by bulk volume. Okay. And the porosity found here is effective porosity. Effective porosity. Okay. Try to note on this one. The method determines the effective porosity, not total porosity. Okay. Try to note on this one. I'll give some time. If any of the students want to ask me through voice also, they can ask me. I will give you the permission for the voice and they can talk to me. Okay. Okay. Let's go to the next method. Yes. Have everybody note on the first one? Yes. The buoyancy method. Yes. This method follows Archimedes principle. A whole body partly immersed in a fluid is bound up with a force equal to that of weight of displaced fluid. Okay, I will just explain it to you. What is this method? Just try to write down this one on the figures and explain it to you. See here, what we'll be doing is we will take the core sample. We will take the core sample. We will find the, we will dry the core sample and we will find the dry. And using known methods, we also find the bulk volume. And what we'll be doing is we will immerse this dry core in a fluid of known density, that is raw fluid of known density. Okay, and we will find the weight of it, that is weight immersed, and this is weight dry, that is within air, that is weight in air. Okay, after that we will use Archimedes principle to find the porosity of the core sample. Okay, let's go to the next one. See, when the core is immersed in a fluid of known density, the weight immersed into G is equal to weight dry into G minus buoyancy force. Buoyancy force. We know that buoyancy force is given by V rho G through fluid statics, fluid static formula V rho G, where V is the volume displaced by core sample, and rho is density of fluid, and G is acceleration due to gravity. And we get here is WT immersed is into G is equal to WT dry into G minus that is grain volume. Grain volume is the volume that displaces the water or the fluid present in the beaker. That is grain volume into density of fluid into G. If you cancel G on both sides, you get grain volume is equal to weight dry minus weight immersed divided by rho fluid. We know grain volume and we also know bulk volume. By using these two, we find the porosity. Okay, this is the formula. I think you have understand the procedure that I have done here. What I have done is we equal weight immersed is equal to weight dry minus buoyancy force. Buoyancy force is given by V rho G, where V is the volume displaced by the core sample, where the volume displaced by the core sample is equal to the grain volume, because all the remaining fluid will be flowing to the pore volume. Okay, from using this principle, we will find grain volume. By using grain volume and bulk volume, we will find the porosity of the formation. Okay, actually using these methods, there are some disadvantages. If you use sandstone to find, if you want find the porosity of a sandstone, the interaction between fluid and rock, the fluids and rock can swell the sandstones, and the porosity will be changed due to the interaction between the rocks and solid. So it cannot be used on sandstone. This method cannot be used on sandstone, and the isolated pores is not affected by the coming pore space that occupied by the water in the beaker. Okay, so here also we find effective porosity, not total porosity. So try to remember that. Take down this note and try to understand this process, how we are going to find the porosity. We are using Archimedes principle to find the grain volume, and we have already known the bulk volume from the known methods. We'll use grain volume and bulk volume to find the pore volume. Okay, I think everybody have written here. Yes. Okay, you can solve this question. Then, okay. Okay, we will stop here today with this question. If you want, you can continue. How many are willing to continue from here? Try to first solve this question. We'll talk about the extension of the class or not. Don't remember the formula. Okay, go through the process. How we are going to find the grain volume or bulk volume. Okay, go through the process. Is this method uses fluid summation method or the buoyancy method? Go use the process. Okay, based on the given data, use the process. Don't remember the formula. That's very, very important. Okay, in examination also they don't give questions based on formulas, but they will question you your conceptual skills. So try to understand the question. Okay. D. Okay. One has already completed. C. Okay. Go. What I'm trying to say is don't remember the formula. That's very, very important because from next year, from GATE 2021, the multiple select questions are also being given. They will question you. They will question your conceptual skills. They'll test your conceptual skills rather than the remembering one. Okay. So go through the process. How we went through how we derived formulas using the fluid summation methods or the buoyancy method. Similarly, go through the process. Start from first, what they have given, and how we can get bulk volume or grain volume. If we can get either bulk volume or grain volume, you can solve the question. Okay, try to solve the question. Take your own time, no problem. We wait. Take your own time. Actually, if we take porosity, it can be completed in 30 minutes also. But what I'm trying to do is we'll be going through basics. What is porosity? What are the factors that affects porosity? What are the different types of porosity? We'll go from basics to every numerical present in porosity. Okay, so we'll be taking some time in each topic. It will take some time. And note down the question in your notes because it's also a very important question. Note down it in your notes. If any student don't understand the question, I will just see. Okay, I will start the question. Okay. Has anybody completed the question? Okay, let me give some time. Okay, let's go. Let's start. See, what they have given is WT dry is equal to 20 grams. The weight of sample when saturated with water. What they have done is they have saturated the sample with water. That is, they have inserted the water in the pore spaces of the core sample. That is, WT saturated is equal to 22.5 grams. And the third, weight of saturated sample in water at 40 degrees Fahrenheit. What they have done is they have taken this saturated sample and they have placed in a beaker with water. Okay. That is weight immersed is equal to 12.6 grams. Okay. What is volume, pore volume? Let's first find what is pore volume. We know if we subtract water saturated water with dry water, WT is saturated with dry water, it will come as mass. When we divide it by density of fluid, we get, yeah, I forgot to give one, density of water is equal to 1 gram per cc. Okay, I think you already know this one. Using this, we get 22.5 minus 20 divided by 1, that is 2.5 cc. That is pore volume of the core sample. And how will we get the grain volume? See, water of water displaced. Weight of saturated sample in water is equal to, that is weight immersed is equal to WT dry minus grain volume into density of fluid. Using this formula, that is, we have already got it. Grain volume is equal to dry is 20 minus 12.6 divided by 1 gram per cc, as it already been dissolved in water. 20 minus 12.6. See, go through the process. Okay. 20 minus 12.6 divided by 1, it is 7.4. Okay. And bulk volume is equal to pore volume plus grain volume, that is equal to 2.5 plus 7.4. 2.5, 7.4, 7.4 plus 5, 9.9. Okay. Does everybody understand the question? The answer is C. See, the answer is C. Okay. We have used fluid saturation method to find pore volume, and we have used buoyancy method to find grain volume. As they asked for bulk volume, bulk pore volume plus grain volume is equal to bulk volume. Okay. What I have done is I have gone through the formulas. I have gone through the process. Okay. Did everybody understand it? Did everybody understand it? Okay. Okay, let's solve another question. Try to solve this question. Wait a minute. Yes. Try to solve this question and note down this question also. In before question, does anybody have any doubt? You can raise your hand, or you can ask through private messages also. C. Answer is C. Okay, one is answer is C. Any other? Any other student? Any other student? Find the bulk volume of the core sample. Actually, the before question is very, very good because it involves three concepts: bulk, that is fluid saturation method, buoyancy method, and the relationship between total volume, bulk volume, and grain volume. Okay, actually, this is also a very good question. Actually, it is a very difficult question. It is very difficult question. Okay, what I would like to say is don't remember the formula. Remember the process. It's very important. If you remember the process, it will always you can solve any question without the remembering of the formula. Just remember the process, how we should do it. Because what I have been doing is it is basically the relation between density, mass, and volume. And the second one is the Archimedes principle. We have already studied it in our 12th class and our colleges also. So remember the process rather than the formula. Okay. A dry core sample immersed in water has its weight in. Okay. I will start a question. See, a core sample immersed in water has its weight in air as 20 grams. It has given us WT dry is equal to 20 grams. A dry sample when coated with paraffin, what they have done is they have taken a dry sample and they have coated with paraffin. They have coated with paraffin. It has become 20.9 grams. So it means WT dry plus WT paraffin is equal to 20.9 grams. So it means WT paraffin is equal to 0.9 grams. Okay. And it is given as the density of the paraffin is density of paraffin is equal to 0.9 gram per cc. You know that density is equal to mass by volume. So volume of paraffin is equal to weight of paraffin divided by density of paraffin, that is equal to 1 cc. So we know that volume of paraffin we have on here. Okay, 1 cc. And if the weight of the immersed sample in water at 40 degree Fahrenheit is given as WT immersed. See, here we are not finding grain volume because as it has been covered with core sample, it has been covered with paraffin, no water will enter into the core sample. Okay, so it is equal to 10 grams. We know that WT immersed, WT dry minus buoyancy force. WT immersed is equal to 10 grams, whereas dry is with paraffin. You have to see with paraffin because what is the weight of dry? That is when covered with paraffin, because the core sample when covered with paraffin is immersed in the water. Okay, you have to know it. 20.9. What is buoyancy force? That is volume of paraffin plus volume of bulk volume of core sample. Remember this. The bulk volume of core sample is being covered with the volume of paraffin. Okay, the volume occupied by both will displace the amount of water in the beaker. So here volume of paraffin plus the bulk volume of the core sample into density of fluid. So you can volume of paraffin plus bulk volume of core sample is equal to, go here, that is 10.9 divided by density of fluid. It has given us water, that is 1 gram per cc, that is 10.9 cc. We know that volume of paraffin is equal to 1. So bulk volume of core sample is equal to 9.1 cc. Okay. Did everybody understand it? What we have done is here, as the core sample is being covered with the paraffin, the water in the beaker cannot go into the core sample. So the volume of paraffin plus the core sample displaces all the water. in the beaker. So we have taken here volume of paraffin plus bulk volume of the core sample. Okay, this question is combined with fluid saturation method plus buoyancy method. Okay, has everybody understood this question? Note on this procedure also. See, what I have done is I didn't remember the formula. I went through the process, so it will be easy for me to solve the questions. Okay, I think that it has already been 1.5 hours. Let's see. How many want to continue the class today? Right now. If majority of the students want to continue the class, I will just continue the class. They're actually 50-50. How many students want to continue the class? They can place their answer in live chat. Okay. Actually, the porosity is a very small topic, but we'll be going through from basic through. Okay. Actually, yes. Actually, I have taken a very large amount of time to solve this question. Okay. What? Okay, we'll stop the topic here on 30th slide. Remember the 30th slide? Tomorrow you have to make me remember 30th slide. And they have to, what you have to do is tomorrow, I'll just give a small assignment. I thought we can complete this whole porosity topic today. Wait a minute. Helium porosity meter. Okay, let's see, can complete tomorrow. Okay. I want every student. See, go to this book. Book by Abhijit Dandekar and Tarak Ahmed. Note on these page numbers. Note on these page numbers. Okay. Okay, note on these page numbers and complete this. Try to complete this one from in Abhijit Dandekar 1935. These are actually page numbers of the book. Page number of the book. If you don't have any PDF, you can ask me via WhatsApp. I will just send it to you. See, in Tarak Ahmed, you go to these pages and briefly study it and complete example 1 and 2. And try to incorporate this matter that you will be studying in these two books. Okay, I will just show you again. Try to incorporate any additional matter in these two books into your own self book that you will be preparing. Okay, that's very important. See, note on these formulas, this page number and this one. Okay, note on these formulas and don't do these exercises. It will be after completion of the other things. You can do these exercises. Okay, in the Abhijit Dandekar. Just try to study these questions. Try to study the matter and don't do these exercises. If you want to do, you can do, but I will be explaining it to you if there are any doubts in the next class. In the next class, don't do it. Don't do it. You can do it after I complete the whole porosity part. Okay, don't do it tomorrow. After completion of the porosity, you can do these questions. But for tomorrow, try to study this book, which has porosity topics. Okay, and some students have asked it for. Okay. Note on this conversions if any of the students want. Okay. And the recording of this online live class will be available on your account. Okay, you can go to the DICE online live class, and it will be visible to you. And the PDFs, the board one will be also available to you there only. Okay. Okay, Girish, have you completed these three? Let's go to the next one. Try to complete here. Actually, try to remember this 6 formulas, that is 6 conversions. It is very, very important. And it will help you in solving all the questions in drilling, production, and reservoir. And you don't have to remember any other conversions if you can remember these 6. Okay, the 6 formulas: weight, pressure, power. Okay. Yes, I will take. Okay, up to now, if any other students have any doubts, they can ask me right now, or the class is completed. Okay, the students can leave. But don't remember the tomorrow assignment. Complete the Abhijit Dandekar book related to porosity. Okay. Girish, I think, have you completed this one? Length. If any other students have not completed writing here, you can write it down. Actually, from tomorrow, the classes will be somewhat more than 2 hours. Try to take rest just before the class, 1 to 2 hours. Okay, the class will be lengthy. Okay, for tomorrow, just before starting of the class, try to take 1 to 2 hours rest. And tomorrow it will be a very big class. We'll try to complete permeability up to half also, if it is possible. Okay, we have completed only half the number of sets in this one. Okay, and try to complete your assignment. Okay, I think this is over. Thank you. Thank you for coming. On the PDF of the board I have written right. It will be available on PDF on your account only. The class has been completed. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. If you want any voice activation, I will give you. Okay, I think nobody has any doubts. Right? Okay, I think the class has been concluded. So we are waiting. Okay then, bye. And don't forget to complete your assignment. Tomorrow we will solve the remaining questions. Okay? Okay then, bye.